It's Monday, December 4th, 2023. As always, please like this video, share all my videos, and make sure you subscribe to this channel. A few things I want to talk about today. I do want to recap on the market euphoria that we are witnessing take place. Markets today across the board were down, not by much, but with all the news out there of what's happening, you can definitely see the disconnect between reality and science fiction. And that's what these markets are. It's science fiction. It's so fake, so manipulated. But before we get to that, let's talk about last night. I was watching gold prices last night. I saw gold up as high as $60 last night. And it touched $2,150. Now, where you follow gold, it may be a little bit different, but I saw it at $2,150 last night. As I make this video, it's roughly about $2,050. So we saw this $100 swing. First off, what caused gold to skyrocket $50, $60 last night? And what caused it to revert back and come down basically $100? It got absolutely slammed today. So we're up 60 last night and we're down 50 today. So basically $100, $110 swing. So if you know the answer to this, please comment down below. Again, what caused gold last night to skyrocket like it did, and what caused it to just plummet today? Unbelievable, the things that are going on behind the scenes and the mass manipulation. But as a holder of gold and silver, I think that we are living in a time right now where you have got to be holding and purchasing real things. These banks are in huge trouble. These markets are going to be in very, very big trouble. The people that are getting rich right now, of course, are like the people when we filmed the Porsche event a couple days ago from Saturday. Those are the people that are getting very, very wealthy off of all this manipulation. But the average person, the average middle class or poor, they are getting absolutely decimated because of this manipulation. There is a sacrifice now of your jobs and your standard of living for these markets. There's a price to pay. These markets are sacrificing your jobs, your standard of living, your purchasing power. So a few at the very, very top continue to get wealthy. Huge price to pay here. And the middle class and the poor are going to continue to pay the price. And it's really, really sad to see what's going on. And anybody that doesn't see the manipulation, I hope at some point you open your eyes. The hedge today, market euphoria, is based on 3 dangerous myths, and we're hearing these myths all the time. Better than expected inflation figures. It's always better than expected, right? Anybody that believes inflation is 3.2% right now, you believe in Santa Claus. There is no way that inflation is 3.2%. But as long as they keep telling us daily that inflation is coming way down from 9.1%, now we're down to 3.2%, everything's fine, except when you go to pay your rent, you go to the grocery store, you go to the gas station, you pay for a service, you're not seeing any 3.2% inflation. You're seeing double digits. Expectations of central bank rate cuts. Again, they keep force feeding us that we're going to see these rate cuts as early as March, more than likely in May, but as early as March. Is there any guarantee to this? And I know that there's probably a million real estate agents out there now telling people, buy a house, buy a house. They're going to cut rates next year and you can refinance your house. Question is, what if they don't cut rates next year? What if they raise next year? You can't rule anything out at this point. You cannot rule anything out. But to just expect that that the central bank is going to cut rates next year based on what? When did Jerome Powell say this? He just said a few days ago that he's never said this. We keep hearing from Jerome Powell, higher for longer, and the possibility of more rate hikes. So the market now is completely detached not only from reality, they're detached from what Jerome Powell and the Fed is saying. Now, I don't know. Jerome Powell could reverse course. There's no doubt about it. If he does, gold prices will go absolutely insane. General acceptance that earnings and economic growth will be weak but acceptable. Many people not only saying that it's going to be acceptable, many people are forecasting that we're going to see double-digit growth, that it's going to be just absolutely euphoria with economic growth. So is it going to be weak? Is it not going to be weak? Nobody really knows. But, you know, when we really look under the microscope here with economic growth, where's the growth? It's caused and produced by this massive amount of government spending. It's not new jobs. It's not the job market expanding. It's not a great economy. It is the U.S. government printing and borrowing more money to support more wars and more government workers. So again, general acceptance that earnings and economic growth will be weak but acceptable. I don't see how economic growth is going to be anything other than very, very weak, because we're going to see more people laid off. We're going to see unemployment skyrocket. And again, you cannot believe all the data that they're giving you, the numbers, the figures, the statistics. I think much of this is so manipulated, and people don't really understand the danger they're in. They don't understand how bad things really, really are. The first problem is believing that inflation will drop magically without any significant impact on growth. According to the article, inflation is falling due to the significant decline in money growth. This means a slump in liquidity, a weaker economy, and financial conditions worsening. Yes, we're going to continue to watch this liquidity crisis take place. And when people can't borrow money, when businesses can't borrow money, this is going to be very, very big trouble. Think about this. We're going to see a liquidity crisis. We've got a commercial real estate crisis going on right now. We got a real estate market and housing that is in crisis mode now. Nothing is selling. People can't get approved for a mortgage. You still have mortgage rates for a 30-year around 7.5%. And again, wages are not keeping up with inflation, savings rate of 3%. This is not good news for the direction of this economy. Banks will act quickly if markets and economic figures deteriorate, but not as quickly as market players may desire. Yes, there at some point, I do believe that they will be forced to lower rates, and this is game over at this point. This is when I think the people holding gold and silver, especially gold out there, when they reverse course and they start cutting rates and they start firing up the printing presses, you can say goodbye to the dollar. This is when I do believe that we're going to see major competition with other currencies globally against the dollar when the Fed begins to lose control. When we will know the Fed has lost control when they begin to cut rates and print money. And this means gold can only go one way, ladies and gentlemen. Another one today from the hedge. Regulators hope you don't notice the massive hidden losses in the banking system. One of the biggest threats in the world is a meltdown in the banking system. Think about the chaos that would ensue when we begin to see major banks going down. This is a huge threat to the financial stability of this country and to the world. The banking system has total unrealized losses of about $548 billion on bank-owned securities and about $726 billion in interest rate-driven losses. So that right there is about $1.3 trillion. Then we could talk about the derivative market. We could, talk about the commercial real estate market. Nobody's talking about the auto market. All these insane loans that many banks made the last 2 years, where people now are defaulting on their cars, loan to value 140%. Some of these incidents. There is going to be billions of dollars of losses just in auto loans, RVs, boats, ATVs. Then we've got housing. Then we've got commercial real estate. Then all these unrealized losses due to interest rate driven losses, securities, bank-owned securities. I mean, they are bleeding cash, ladies and gentlemen. Big trouble ahead for the banking system. The regional banks are probably going to be the first ones to fall. This commercial real estate crisis is going to begin to come to a head in 2024. We've already seen huge losses, buildings that are selling for less than half of what they were paid for a few years ago. Some of them 70, 80% less they're selling for than what they were purchased for just a few years ago. It's going to get very, very ugly. Here's another one today from The Hedge. More Americans tapping into retirement savings as hardship withdrawals rise. We spoke about that last week. And this is going to continue to get worse. Where in the world does anybody see the economy being in good shape? I don't understand it. I really, really don't get anybody that can tell you or I that the economy is doing well. It is the worst economy of my lifetime. I'm sure you would agree it's the worst economy that you've ever seen in your lifetime. The only thing that I can compare this to is back to the Great Depression. And people could laugh and go, there's no way. Listen, we have 43 million people that are on food stamps in this country. They don't eat unless the government sends them a little plastic card, okay? Imagine if you saw 43 million people in food lines in America. And we already see these food lines from charities, from these food banks, already a mile long in some places. Think about 43 million people, what 43 million people would look like waiting to get food. But they can cover it up because they just send people a little plastic card and they put money in that account every month and everybody eats and things are nicely hidden away. But there are so many people that are food insecure, so many people dependent on the system, so many people working 2, 3, even 4 jobs now just to make ends meet. You've got a husband and wife in a household working, and now they're having their teenage kids working to contribute. Or you have people moving in, relatives, or their older kids are moving back home, or they're renting out rooms. They're doing whatever they can to make sure they can make that mortgage payment, or that they have a little bit left over at the end of the month to pay for essentials or to pay the utility bills. And many people are now forced to rent out a room. There's people out here living in garages, people renting out their garages, and people are living in garages. You've seen this just like I have. There's areas that you will drive around and you will see 4, 5, 6, 7, even 8, 9 cars parked in front of the house. This is going to become more and more common. Here's another one. More retired Americans are unretiring and many worry about age discrimination. I don't think they really need to worry about that. I think they're going to be more worried if they can even find a job in 2024. It says here 12% of retired Americans expect to come out of retirement in 2024. 12%. Top reasons: inflation and higher cost of living. I think this number is going to be much higher in 2024. 17% of people ages 62 to 85 in this country are working full-time. Do you imagine there are people over 80 years old working full-time? I spoke about this last week. A very nice older woman at the Rite Aid in Palm Desert. She works so many hours. Every time I go in there, she's scooping up the ice cream, she's cleaning the floor, she's checking people out at the register, she's pulling the shopping carts in, she's putting stuff on the shelves. She does everything. And this lady's got to be at least 80 years old. But think about 17% of people 62 to 85 are working full-time. 7% of ages 62 to 85 are working part-time. So that's a lot of older people working. I've seen even elderly people working at the casinos, at the restaurants. People are literally going to be working until the day they die. And that's really unfortunate. That to me is not the American dream. And I'm sure that when these people were much younger, let's go back 30 years ago, 40 years ago maybe 30 years ago, 20 years ago, I don't think most of these people ever anticipated that they would be working into their 80s. Is this the American dream? What in the world is going on, ladies and gentlemen? Another article today that I found very interesting, it's titled, "We Feel Poor Because We Are Poor, and Here's Proof." This on The Hedge today. And I'll highlight a few parts of this article. If our hours of work buy less non-discretionary goods and services, we're getting poor. And that's exactly what is happening to millions of people right now. It goes on to say, software, TVs, airline fares, they're getting cheaper. But it's meaningless because they are occasional discretionary purchases that make up a tiny slice of total cost of living expenditures. They like to remind us every month that, oh look, airfares are going down, car rentals are going down, hotel room prices are going down, TVs are going down, the price of a cell phone or a computer is going down. That's wonderful. But these are not things that we need for our everyday living, for our everyday survival. Your vacation cost you 100 more hours of work, but you save $50 on airfare, so it all evens out. No, it does not work that way. The only metric that is an accurate measure of prosperity and impoverishment is the purchasing power of your labor earnings, period. So check that out. Here's another one. I'm going to wrap it up with this one right here, the economiccollapse.com, a constant state of sticker shock. Here's proof that inflation in the US is wildly out of control. I'm not going to go through the whole thing here, but just a few things I've added to myself too, and a few things in the article. Please feel free to comment down below. Are you experiencing any of this? Do you see it happening? Do you know people who are hurting right now? And what is 2024 going to look like? It says here 60 to 80%. 60% is the official number, living paycheck to paycheck. I believe that number is much closer to 80%. Let me know what you think about that. We have a 3% savings rate in America. After people pay their bills, there is literally nothing left. How are people going to save money to have a cash reserve put away, to have a down payment for a house, to put some money down on a car? This is getting really, really concerning. Typical household must spend $11,434 more today than it did in 2021 just to maintain the same standard of living that they just had 2 years ago. We talked about this last week. Half of American workers made less than $40,800 last year. This to me is really, it's shocking, but it isn't, because we've been talking about this for years. I don't think people realize that the real income of the American worker right now, and this is before taxes, $40,800 last year. That's what half of American workers made. You look at the average new car, $51,000, average new house over $400,000. You look at the average rent, about $1,800. You look at the cost of food. A bag of food now is like $40 just for one little plastic bag of food at the grocery store. It costs you like $40. You look at going to McDonald's if you want to eat really, really bad. In some areas, Big Mac combos, $16, $18. Out here, I think they're about $12, $13 for a Big Mac combo. And of course, the Big Mac is much smaller. The quality of food is really, really bad. And so you pay more, you get less, and you get less service, you get less quality. It's amazing that they're going to be paying McDonald's workers here $20 an hour. I think they're making $16, $18 right now. It's going to go up to $20. But the service that you get, because I don't eat McDonald's, but I do a few times a week get a hot or cold coffee at McDonald's, typically an iced coffee. And most places the service is really for $18, you think the service would be a little bit better. But at the end of the day, the food is horrible. The food is probably more than likely very dangerous to be eating. The amount of food has shrunk. Quality is terrible. The quality of service is terrible, and you're paying more. How about auto and health insurance? Absolutely skyrocketing. Please comment down below. How much has your health insurance? How much has your auto insurance gone up? My auto insurance has gone up about 15 to 17%, I would say, just this year. And I have a clean driving record. Home insurance, on average, it says, is around $1,600. Auto insurance, around $2,000. That's, it's $3,600 a year right there. 25% are doom spending. They don't care. They're just spending money they don't have with credit cards, and they don't care. They're running up more debt, getting deeper in the hole, and they don't care. And I think that this puts a lot of risk on people, and it's going to really put more risk on these banks, because these people are never going to pay this money back. They're going to default, and these banks are going to either go out of business, or they're going to expect another bailout, or possibly a bail-in, which would be even worse. So enjoy the stable times, ladies and gentlemen. These are the good times. We are still in good times, so enjoy the good, stable times. I do expect 2024 to be a much different year. This was no cakewalk by any stretch of the imagination. This was an absolutely horrible year. Yes, you can say, oh, the stock market rally, it's doing incredible. That's great for the people at the very, very top. But they have sacrificed the U.S. economy now in order for a few people at the very, very top to get wealthier and wealthier and wealthier, while millions of middle class are no longer middle class. And while the poor now aren't just going to be poor, they're going to be homeless. They're going to be living on the streets. And if something isn't done here quickly, you're going to be looking at a third world country, which right now we're probably a second world country, and we are approaching third world status, in my opinion. Now they'll say, oh no, GDP, stock market up, job numbers, inflation going down. This is wonderful. Even though we're the largest debtor nation on planet Earth, we have more homeless than anybody, more crime than anybody, more people in prison than anybody, more drug addicts and drug addiction than anybody. It goes on and on and on. This is a total mess, ladies and gentlemen. This is a total mess, and it's going to get much, much worse. Enjoy the good times. 2024 is going to be an absolutely crazy year. I hope you're preparing. I hope you're praying. God bless. Stay safe.